Chibuzo stood at the hospital's front desk, his hands trembling as he handed over the bundle of money. The nurse behind the counter glanced at him, then at the money, before signaling the doctor. Moments later, Dr. Ifeanyi emerged, his face itched with concern. "Is this the money for your mother's treatment?" Dr. Ifeanyi asked, taking the cash from Chibuzo's shaking hands. "Yes, doctor. Please, start her treatment immediately," Chibuzo replied, his voice cracking with desperation. "We can't waste any more time. My mother's condition is getting worse." Dr. Ifeanyi nodded, gesturing for the nurses to begin preparations. "We will start right away. You did well to bring this money quickly. Your mother is in a critical state." Chibuzo let out a sign of relief, though worry still clung to him. He had no idea how Adora had managed to get such a large sum in such a short time, but he didn't dwell on it. His mother's life was all that mattered. "Thank you, doctor. Please, save her," Chibuzo whispered, sitting down in the waiting room as he watched the medical team rush into action. Back at home, Adola lay on her bed writhing in agony. Her stomach, which had been aching since the morning, now felt as though it was tearing apart from the inside. She pressed her hands against her abdomen, trying to steady her breathing, but the pain only intensified. "Oh God," she whispered through gritted teeth. "What's happening to me?" Her entire body felt like it was on fire, and then, suddenly, she felt something slithering inside her. Her eyes flew open in terror. It was as if something was alive inside her, moving, coiling, crawling beneath her skin. "No! No, this can't be real," Adora whispered, panic settling deep inside her bones. She clenched her fists, trying to will the sensation away, but it grew stronger with each passing second. Then, as if in a nightmare, she heard it, the unmistakable sound of Chief Ikoku's sinister laughter. His deep, mocking voice filled her ears, echoing around the room. "Adora," his voice taunted, though there was no one in sight. "You thought you could escape me. You thought I'd let you take the money and walk away, foolish girl." "No, leave me alone," Adora screamed, clenching her head as if trying to block out the sound. But the laughter only grew louder. It echoed in her ears, in her mind, twisting around her like the serpent she felt clawing inside her. Sweat poured down her face as she stumbled out of bed. "I need to vomit. I need to get it out," she muttered, barely able to focus through the searing pain. She staggered towards the bathroom, her legs wobbling beneath her as her vision blurred. The room seemed to spin, the walls closing in on her. She barely made it to the door when her body gave way and she collapsed against the sink, and her head collided hard with the edge of the toilet seat. The sound of the impact echoed through the small bathroom, followed by a deafening silence. Adora lay there, motionless, her body crumpled on the floor. Blood trickled from the inside of her head, falling beneath her. The pain, the laughter, the sinister presence, it all stopped in an instant. There was nothing but silence now. At the hospital, Ezinne lay still, her breathing steady, and her face, though pale, had regained some of its color. The doctors had run several tests earlier, and everything seemed to point to a hopeful recovery. She had been receiving treatment for days, and today, for the first time in a while, her condition was finally improving. Dr. Ifeanyi entered the room, scanning Ezinne's chart with a slight nod of approval. She's responding well to the treatment, he said to the nurse beside him. Her vitals are stabilizing. It's a good sign. The nurse smiled, relieved. That is wonderful news, doctor. We've all been so worried. Ezine stirred slightly in her bed, her eyelids fluttering open. Her voice was weak, but she managed to speak. Doctor, where is my son? Dr. Ifeanyi bent down, giving her a reassuring smile. Chibuzo went home to bring some food for you and himself. He will be back soon. You should rest for now. Ezinne nodded faintly, her mind at ease, knowing that her son would return soon. Thank you. Thank you for everything. You are strong, Ezinne. Just keep resting, and soon you will be back on your feet, the doctor added before walking out of the room. Chibuzo hurried home, his thoughts filled with relief that his mother's condition was improving. As he walked, his mind wandered to Adora. She had been distant recently, and he hadn't had much time to speak to her between hospital visits. I hope she's okay, he thought to himself. I will ask her to make something for all of us. We need a good meal after everything that has happened. When he arrived at their small house, he called out as he entered, Adora! Adora! I'm back! The house was quiet. Chibuzo frowned, stepping forward inside. Adora! His voice echoed through the silent rooms, but there was no response. Something felt wrong. He hurried to her room, noticing that the door was slightly closed. Pushing it open, he found the bed empty, the room undisturbed. His heart began to race as a cold knot of bread tightened in his stomach. Adora, where are you? He called again, his voice rising in urgency. Then from the corner of his eyes, he saw the bathroom door. It was open, and the faint sound of water dripping reached his ears. Trembling, Chibuzo approached, and what he saw made his world collapse. Adora lay on the bathroom floor, motionless. Her head was twisted awkwardly, her face pale, her body cold. No! 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 Chibuzo screamed, rushing to her side. He knelt beside her, his hands shaking uncontrollably as he touched her cold skin. Adora, wake up! Please wake up! He shook her gently, hoping, praying that somehow this was all a terrible nightmare, but there was no movement, no sound from her. Her body remained lifeless, her eyes closed forever. Tears streamed down his face as he clutched her body, his mind reeling in disbelief. How? How did this happen? What happened to you? His voice was barely above a whisper, broken and filled with sorrow. He cried out again, louder this time, the weight of his grief suffocating him. Adora! No, please! His voice cracked with desperation, unable to comprehend the reality before him. Minutes passed, though it felt like an eternity. His sobs filled the empty house, echoing through the walls that now felt like they were closing in on him. Chibuzo's mind raced, questions flooding his thoughts. How could this have happened? What had gone wrong? As he wept, holding his sister's lifeless body, his phone rang. He pulled the phone from his pocket, his hands trembling as he answered the call. Hello? His voice was hoarse from crying. Is this Chibuzo? Came a familiar voice on the other end. It was Dr. Ifeanyi from the hospital. Yes, it's me, Chibuzo answered, his voice barely above a whisper. His heart pounded as he braced himself for what the doctor was about to say. I'm afraid I have some very bad news for you, Chibuzo. It's about your mother. We lost her. Chibuzo sat on the floor of the bathroom, staring at his sister's lifeless form. The overwhelming grief he had felt moments ago was now replaced by a deep emptiness. His heart was shattered beyond repair. The weight of the news about his mother's death added to the unbearable pain. His mind couldn't process it all. His sister, his strong, vibrant Adora, was gone. His mother, who had just begun to recover, was now dead too. He had done everything he could to save them, but life had mercilessly taken them both from him. His hands trembled as he whispered, "Why? Why is this happening to me?" Tears welled in his eyes again, but he felt too weak to cry. It was as if the pain had drained him of all his strength. A deep hollowness settled in his chest, making it hard to breathe. He clenched his fists, his voice shaking. "God, why didn't you take me instead? Why leave me alone here?" The days following the tragedy were a blur for Chibuzor. The weight of his grief consumed him, making each day feel like an eternity. He wandered through the empty house like a ghost, too exhausted to cry, too broken to find comfort. The air was thick with loss, and the silence was deafening. Friends and neighbors came to offer their condolences, but Chibuzor couldn't barely hear their words. All the usual phrases of comfort, "It's God's will," "They are in better place," "Stay strong," mean nothing to him. He felt completely detached from everything, as though he existed in a world separate from everyone else. Weeks passed, but the pain didn't lessen. It lingered. He spent most days in the house, barely eating or sleeping. Each corner of the home reminded him of his mother and sister. The empty chairs at the dining table, the unmade bed in Adora's room, even the lingering scent of his mother's perfume, it all crushed him over and over again. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Chibuzor sat by the window, gazing blankly at the fading light. He had thought about Chief Ikoku several times. Despite being their uncle, Ikoku had never shown any sympathy, not even after the death of his brother's wife and children. Not a single visit, not a single word of condolence. He didn't even show up to Mama's burial, Chibuzor muttered bitterly, gripping the arm of his chair. Not for Papa's either. How could he be so heartless? As the days turned into nights, Chibuzor found himself sinking deeper into despair. He would lie in bed for hours, staring up at the ceiling, unable to sleep. His mind replayed the events that had led to this point: his mother's sudden illness, Adora's mysterious death, and the loss of both in such quick succession. The more he thought about it, the more he felt like something was wrong. What if there is more to this? He whispered into the darkness one night. What if it wasn't just fate? One night, after another long, restless evening, Chibuzor finally drifted into a troubled sleep. His dreams were vivid, unlike any he had ever experienced before. He found himself standing in a foliage-covered field, surrounded by silence. "Where am I?" he muttered, turning in every direction, trying to make sense of his surroundings. Suddenly, in the distance, he saw three figures emerging from the mist. As they drew closer, he recognized them immediately: his sister Adora, his mother Ezinne, and to his shock, his father, who had passed away years ago. "Mama," Chibuzor called out, his voice trembling. "Adora! Papa!" They stood before him, giving him no response, silent but clear. Their faces were calm, yet there was something urgent in their eyes. Chibuzor's heart raced as he stared at them. His emotions surged, and a deep longing to be with them. "What is this?" he asked. "Is this real? Why are you all here?" His father, who had always been a quiet man, stepped forward, his expression somber. He raised his hand and pointed behind Chibuzor slowly. Adora and Ezinne did the same, their fingers all pointing in the same direction. Chibuzor's breath caught in his throat. He hesitated for a moment, terrified of what he might see if he turned around, but something compelled him to follow their gaze. With trembling hands, he slowly turned to face the direction they were pointing. In the distance, Through the thick fog, Chibuzo saw a figure. His heart pounded as the figure came into view. It was Chief Ikoku. Chibuzo lay frozen in his dream, staring at his family, pointing towards Chief Ikoku. His sister, Adora, stepped forward, her face pale and serious, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Brother, it's him," Adora's voice echoed through the fog. "He's the one responsible for all of our deaths." Chibuzo's heart raced, pounding so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. He turned to look at his father and mother, but they only nodded, their faces etched with grief. The weight of their accusation fell on him like a heavy stone, and his knees buckled beneath him. "No, it can't be," Chibuzo whispered in the dream. "How? Why would he do this?" But there was no answer. The fog thickened, and the figures of his family began to fade once again into the mist. The last thing Chibuzo saw was the cold smile on Chief Ikoku's face, and then darkness. Suddenly, Chibuzo jolted awake, drenched in sweat, gasping for air. His heart pounded in his chest, and his hands shook uncontrollably. The room was pitch dark, except for the faint glow of the moonlight seeping through the curtains. He could still hear Adora's voice in his head, repeating the same words over and over again. "He's the one responsible for all of our deaths." Chibuzo sat up in bed, his breath coming in short gaps. He rubbed his face with trembling hands, trying to shake off the vivid dream, but the fear clung to him like a shadow. "What was that?" he muttered to himself, his voice shaky. Was it just a nightmare, or something more? Unable to calm himself, Chibuzo quickly dressed and rushed to Ikenna's house. He knocked on the door with urgency, his mind still racing from the dream. Ikenna opened the door, his face groggy with sleep. "Chibuzo, it's the middle of the night." Chibuzo stepped inside, his eyes wide with fear. "Ikenna, I had the most terrifying dream," he began, pacing back and forth. "I saw my mother, my father, and Adora. They were all pointing at Chief Ikoku. And Adora, she told me that he's the one responsible for their deaths." Ikenna's sleepy expression shifted to one of the concern. "Wait, what? Chief Ikoku? The dream said he's behind everything?" Chibuzo nodded, his voice trembling. "Yes, they all pointed at him. And Adora spoke to me directly. She said it was him. And the way he was smiling, Ikenna, it was like he was mocking me, even in the dream." Ikenna frowned, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "Dreams like that don't just happen for no reason. It sounds like a warning." Chibuzo slumped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "I don't know what to do, Ikenna. I've been trying to understand why all this happened. Why Mama and Adora died so suddenly. Now this dream. I don't know if it's just my mind playing tricks on me." Ikenna sat beside him, his voice calm but firm. "Chibuzo, listen to me. This is not something you can just brush off. Dreams like this have meaning. My grandfather always said that when the dead visit you in your dreams, especially in such a clear way, they are trying to tell you something." Chibuzo looked up, his eyes filled with desperation. "But what do I do now? How can I know for sure that it's true?" Ikenna leaned back, crossing his arms. "There's one way to find out. We need to see a native doctor, someone who can help you make sense of this dream and find out if it's really true." "A native doctor?" Chibuzo asked, uncertainty creeping into his voice. He had never been to one before, and the thought of seeking help from a spiritualist made him uneasy. "Yes," Ikenna nodded. "There's an old man, Nwokedi, who lives in the next village. He's known for his powerful visions and spiritual insights. If anyone can help you confirm what you saw, it's him." Chibuzo hesitated for a moment, but the weight of his family's deaths pressed heavily on his heart. He needed answers, no matter how frightening they might be. Okay, he finally agreed, nodding slowly. Let's go see him. The next day, Chibuzo and Ekenna made their way to Nwokede's shrine. It was deep in the forest, hidden away from the village. The path was narrow, lined with thick bushes and towering trees. Chibuzo's heart pounded in his chest with every step they took, the tension in the air growing thicker as they approached the shrine. When they arrived, the shrine stood like an ancient relic made of mud and palm fronds. Smoke curled from a small fire outside, and the air was heavy with the smell of herbs and incense. Nwokedi, the native doctor, sat cross-legged near the entrance, his face hidden beneath a red cap. As Chibuzo and Ekenna stepped closer, Nwokedi lifted his head, his eyes piercing and knowing. His voice was calm but commanding. "Young man," he said, looking directly at Chibuzo, "I know why you have come." Chibuzo froze surprised. He hadn't even spoken yet, but the native doctor seemed to already know everything. "How? How do you know?" Chibuzo stammered. Nwokedi chuckled softly, his eyes never leaving Chibuzo's face. "I see many things. Spirits speak to me, and they have told me of your troubles." Chibuzo swallowed hard, his heart pounding. "I had a dream. My family came to me. They pointed at my uncle, Chief Ikoku. They said he's responsible for their deaths. I don't know if it's true, but I need to know." Nwokedi's expression grew serious. Dreams are powerful, and they often reveal truths that are needed to be kept hidden from our waking minds. But be careful, young man. The path you are on is a dangerous one. If I were you, I would not do what you are about to do.